Young people can come to us and have a conversation about drugs, which they might never have had with anyone, ever.
Results have shown components that people really didn't expect, even no cocaine being found where they thought it would be cocaine.
Australia's first fixed-site drug testing clinic has opened here in Canberra. And it's not just looking at pill testing for festivals. Anyone with any drug can come in and find out what's in them. I've come down here to find out how the clinic works and to talk to those involved about whether it will reduce harm or if it'll make it easier and more attractive to use drugs. It's running as a pilot for 6 months, opening 2 days a week inside a healthcare centre in the middle of Canberra.
First thing we would do is ask you to put your phone in the lockers. This is to ensure your privacy and the privacy of everyone using the space. This is the waiting area. In this space, the most important thing that we're going to go through is the waiver, making sure that people realise that when they access the service, they're not getting a guarantee that what they have is safe.
Would you put your name on there or like?
We're not checking any IDs, but we need to make sure that we're confident people have the capacity to and they have read through and agreed to this.
Just over a third of Australians aged 18 to 24 have used illegal drugs in the last 12 months, which is the highest usage of any age group. Out of that, cannabis was the most used, followed by cocaine and ecstasy. Often, drugs are cut with other substances known as fillers, or another drug entirely. The clinic will be able to identify how much of a drug is filler, or if it is a different drug altogether.
This is the brute force of most of the work done on site. So we'll put the sample on this diamond here and it will run infrared through the compound and split that up into a spectra. And then what the computer does, it will match our spectra to a known spectra and give us a score based on that match.
Okay, so the big one that takes up most of the room here is called a UPLC.
That's the machine that figures out if your ecstasy is really ecstasy or if it's that and a whole lot more.
So it splits the mixture apart and we can start to say with this technique, hey, this is really high purity or this is low purity, and start to quantify it a bit more.
And will this happen all in front of the client or?
Yep. So they can be as engaged or not as engaged with the process as they want. If they want to stand over our shoulder and ask us, what's this and what's that, we're happy to explain it to them, we're happy for them to be part of it. If they just want to get the result, we're fine with that too.
Until now, drug testing trials in Australia had only taken place at 2 festivals in the ACT. It started after 11 deaths were recorded from so-called party drugs over the space of 3 years in New South Wales and Victoria. 2 coronial inquests recommended fixed-site drug testing. David Caldecott worked on both those drug testing trials and is the clinical lead at Pill Testing Australia.
MDMA is frequently the drug ecstasy that people refer to. That can be dangerous in a number of different ways. Oftentimes it's the dose that's the most dangerous thing. It could also be dangerous if it's cut with other drugs, and we've seen that quite a bit. Or we can see MDMA being sold as MDMA, but being something completely different in its entirety. So that could be anything from meth all the way through to some of the newer exotic drugs coming on the market. So there is obviously a public health benefit to this sort of process as well. So we're giving direct information to young people, but also advising the wider public health system of things that could be hazardous and coming onto the market.
The clinic is not just for recreational users testing party drugs. It can test all drugs, including heroin.
One of the things that we can do here, which we haven't been doing at festivals, is talk to young people who are injecting drugs. And that obviously the heroin consuming population is a considerably representative group. I think one of the big concerns within that particular group is the contamination of that market with fentanyls. So these are these ultra potent opioids, which are really quite dangerous.
There is resistance to drug testing in other parts of the country. Despite the recommendation from a coronial inquest and hosting many of Australia's biggest festivals, pill testing is not allowed in New South Wales. When we asked why that was the case, the Police Minister told us in a written response, "Pill testing sends the wrong message to people about consuming illegal substances. There's no such thing as a safe way to take these drugs, and we don't want to create a false sense of confidence that there is. Back in Canberra, testing is underway and the results are coming in.
So over 3.5 weeks we've had 56 samples brought in for drug testing, and of those 18 have actually been discarded because the results have shown components that people really didn't expect. So a whole lot of MDMA that really wasn't MDMA, or it had other components that they really weren't looking to have in there, a lot of filler that they weren't expecting, and just generally low quality substances as well. So things like methamphetamine in MDMA, or pharmaceuticals within cocaine, and even no cocaine being found where they thought it would be cocaine. Some people are really quite disappointed and shocked that they've gone and spent a few $100s on what they thought was MDMA and they've just got filler.
There's nothing about what we do that says that it's safe. In fact, right at the get-go, we tell them that the only way to be safe as far as drug consumption is concerned is not to take drugs. What I'm hoping is that young people will take our advice well, and when they find themselves in possession of products that we tell them are dangerous, they'll modify their behaviour as they have done in Festival World.